Hello and welcome to Mission Alive. Mission Alive. Do you remember what we said mission means? Mission means being sent. Being alive means being active, doing something, moving something, not just sitting doing nothing. So I'd like to tell you about what's been happening to me recently. Recently, over the past few weeks, I've been really very sad. First of all, I lost my sister. My sister died. My only sister, my older sister, who had done so much for me in my life. She told me what clothes to wear, how to wear clothes. She took me out. She was wonderful to me. She was really a good big sister. And then there was another person who just died a few weeks later. And that was my very best friend. Have you got a friend? Have you got a good friend? Have you got a best friend? Somebody who really means something to you, something special. Well, I had Barbara. Barbara was my very best friend, a very special friend. We became friends when we were in first year in high school, secondary school, college, whatever it's called. We went to a girls' college, a ladies' college it was called later. And while we were there, I started on the second day. I was late for school. I started on the second day, and I was very ashamed to say why I was late. I was late because I went to a picnic with my father. The only thing I can remember about that picnic is bananas. We had lots and lots of bananas. That's all I remember. And now the second day, I had to go up to this new college all dressed up in a very special uniform and start school. So the principal brought me into the classroom and handed me over to the teacher who was teaching French, and here were these girls talking in French. Just the second day of school. And the teacher said, "Where can we sit this new girl who's come to join us?" And the little girl in the front seat put up her hand and said, "There's nobody sitting beside me. She could come and sit here." And so I walked over and sat beside her. That began a friendship that became cement, that really lasted the years. She got married and had 8 children, and those children often called me Auntie Helen, not Sister Helen, not just Helen, but Auntie Helen. I went there and stayed there. Every time I came home from Papua New Guinea for holidays, I always had a week with Barbara. We did things we wanted to do. The children looked after themselves. Her wonderful husband did what he had to do to look after them. And Barbara and I went shopping. We went to see a film. We drove to a park and sat down and talked. And I remember one night when I was with her, she said to me, "What would you like to do?" And I said to her, "I would like to cry." And she said, "Cry?" I said, "Yes, I would like to cry." And she said to me, "Cry." And I cried. I cried like a baby. In her arms, she held me. I shook and I cried and I cried and I cried until I didn't have to cry anymore. And then she said to me, "What was that all about?" And I said to her, "I don't know. I just know that inside me I had a cry. Not because I didn't like being in the missions. I loved being in Papua New Guinea and was so anxious to get back every time. My mother and father were always saying, "You're always so happy to go back. Are you always so happy to come down to us?" And I used to say, "Yes, I'm always so happy to come down and see you. But I am also so happy to go back." So it wasn't that. I had good friends that I worked with in the missions. But this cry was there. And she took it. She held it. She didn't tell me I was silly, I was foolish. I was being like a child instead of like a woman. She just held me. She held my cry. I've always thought of that, how precious that cry was and how she took it. So if you have a friend, hold their cry, share their laughter, but also share their sorrow. That's Mission Alive. Goodbye for now. Golly jingos, that went quickly. Hello and welcome to Mission Alive. When I was a little girl, a young woman, we always travelled by public transport. We longed to travel by taxi. Sometimes when we were going away for holidays and we had heavy suitcases to carry, we'd say to my father, "Go by taxi, Dad." Dad would say, "No, we're going by the tram." So we went by the tram. He worked on the trams, of course, and knew the people on the trams. He liked to talk to them. So we'd get on the tram. So it was only on a very rare occasion that we went by taxi. So I've been thinking of my father recently because during my sister's illness, up until her death, I travelled by taxi every day to go and visit her and to come back home. The nursing home she was in was very lovely, but it was out of the way. No public transport went by that road or the roads nearby. You had to get out and walk a long way. In fact, if I went by public transport, I'd have to go 1 bus, 2 train, 3 bus, and then walk. So it was much more convenient, safer and quicker to go by taxi. And I really enjoyed those taxi rides because of the taxi drivers. They were so interesting. The first one was a Buddhist, and it was Ramadan time. And I told him that I'd been in Jerusalem at Ramadan time. And so we began to talk about his religion, what Ramadan meant for him. You know, fasting from 6 in the morning till 6 in the night, all day, every day for a month is a lot to do. We have 40 days in Lent of penance, but we don't fast all day. We fast, we go without something. But we don't fast completely, but no food, no drink for 40 days. And so we talked about that. Then the next one I had was a Hindu. He was very quiet and gentle, but he was very lovely. And we talked about the Beatitudes, the 8 Beatitudes that Jesus gave us. Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the meek, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are they that hunger and thirst, blessed are they that mourn. And I was mourning because my sister was dying. So we talked about that. And we talked about his set of beliefs in his book that fitted in with the Beatitudes. We all have these same beliefs. We're not so different. We're not so different. And then I had a Hindu, a Muslim, and a Sikh. A Sikh. I'd never really talked to a Sikh before. And I said to him, "I don't know anything about your religion. Please, would you tell me?" I know you are very good and kind to people in need. They are. Often you see them on television, on the news here in Australia, building up bags of food, people bringing in everything, fresh food and tin food, all that you could want. Toys for children, clothes, they put them all in bags and they take them round to the people affected by the floods, by people affected by the bushfires, people who have lost everything and are so grateful to receive anything that people give them. And so he told me about his way of life, because that's what religion is. It's the way we live. In the New Testament, in the Acts of the Apostles, that's the first name that was given to the followers of Jesus. They weren't Catholics, they weren't Christians. They were called followers of the way. They were following the way of this man, of this new man. They weren't following the way of Moses. That was the way the Jewish people followed. But now here was this young fellow coming along and people were beginning to follow his way. So in the Acts of the Apostles, we learn of the way. So think of the way you are living, your way. Make sure it's a way that helps other people. Make sure it's a way that does good to other people. Make sure it's a way that makes you friends with other people and not enemies. We have so much in common. One God, one Father in heaven. So, the way. Follow your way, but don't hurt people who follow a different way. Goodbye for now, and have a good week.